Hey Dan, I saw your text about KTOS and I wanted to give some technical analysis just to give you some information that I hope you can use. So this stock is called Upwork. It's quite similar to KTOS. It's got really good fundamentals, but it's also got really interesting technical movements and speculative price action. So you'll see that down here, it bounces off this 1280 level, this blue line here, and it runs to the upside. Now, just like in KTOS, a run makes a lot of people uneasy because when it runs, it attracts a lot of speculative money. And then, as is traditionally said, in the short term it's voting, in the long term it's weighing. At some point, you have to vote on, as a collective, you have to vote on this stock. And what people are looking for when they're voting is they're trying to vote and see whether this price is good fundamentally. Because at some point, as you've been worried about, you're like, there's so much speculation behind this stock. It's kind of fake. It's lies and deceit, dreadful bamboozlement. And so let's say from here and up all the way to this level here is like mostly speculative. And you're like, I really don't think it's valued this much. But if it's going up, it's going up. And then once you see it sort of flatline here, some people say, I don't like this stock price as it is. I'm going to sell because I think it's probably going to go down. I don't think it's going to cross $15 and go to 30. $15 was my I'd love it if it goes to 15 because I bought at 10. So these long-term guys basically vote on what they think the stock's going to do in the long term. And so this is called a consolidation zone. And if basically most of those institutions, those long-term buyers decide, we vote that it is actually a good buy here, and because it's fundamental, these consolidation zones are really safe buys for traders. And so really good traders will look at only fundamentally solid companies for this, because the more purely technical you get, the more speculative you get and the more risky you get, because price action is more volatile. That's why super speculative companies are super volatile, because traders, what happens is traders look for upside and they run away from downside. So they'll sell right away as soon as it breaks down because they say, well, they voted against it. I'm getting out right away because I'm not holding for the long term. I don't believe in the stock more than those guys do. I'm looking for quick profit. So they'll jump out quick and they drive a downtrend and a breakdown, and they drive it quick. There's a lot of traders. So that's why something like Tesla will hit 420 in November, or I think it was January actually, and I think like 2 or 3 months later it's 200. Now, there were fundamental changes with tariffs and things, but even at the top before tariffs happened, there's a big drop down because people voted against Tesla at that price, and maybe they thought it was great at 400, but not 420 or not 460, but they got absolutely destroyed by all of these speculative investors selling everything right away, and then it goes down a ton. That's why it's so volatile. So here on the upside, all these traders, and actually where I bought in is right in this level. Then Upwork runs. None of these traders sell because they're like, I think it's going up. There's no reason. And so they'll go, well, when do I sell? And oftentimes they'll look for a level, be it a psychological level, which is, I don't really believe in those that much, but usually it's a historical rejection point. And you can see there is one years back, but it's not super strong. But you'll see it reject here and it'll go down. And this was actually a 10% drop from high to low. And you'll see it reconsolidates, people vote again, and it breaks to the upside. But right here, it's a sharp drop. And this drop was on zero news. So people voted in favor, traders ran it up really high, more long-term buyers bought in, and then signs of weakness, traders get scared and basically say, funds over, boys, and I want to leave before the party ends so I don't have to be, the last guy there who the host looks at with pleading eyes saying please help me clean the mess up. I want to get out quick right as the fun starts to taper off. So I left here, which I just made myself sound really scummy, but this doesn't affect long-term buyers at all. They don't care. I'm only playing what's essentially a zero-sum game with other traders. And so it gets sold off, reconsolidates, and jumps back to the upside. And that's how really good fundamental companies move. And that's what drives the short-term price action is you vote, trader weirdness, voting, and it just moves on. So really, really beautiful, in my opinion, just really gorgeous stock movement is runs up, usually on good news, good earnings, consolidation. People are like, do we really like it here? Oh yeah, we do. And it runs up like crazy, and then it dips. These traders are like, funds over, boys, pack it up. And now you get a revote. And then it just crushes the upside again. This is really nice, and often it doesn't quite look like this, but you can see a lot of stocks, if you look at their historical trends, you'll see things like, and oftentimes these things match up with fundamental changes like COVID. You have like at the bottom of COVID, there's like a V, and that's super artificial. But like in the bear market of 2022, you're going to see like a big run up, and you're going to see down, and then it's going to taper off and do what's called coiling, and it's going to go up. And so that's kind of similar to what's happening here, but on a really big scale. And the reason I'm explaining all this is because I want to look at KTOS, and I want to say that it's like extremely similar looking at these two stocks. And that can give us some info on what might happen. So you've got this big run up, which now at this point doesn't look like much, but it's a double in the stock price from here to here. And you've got this big consolidation zone here. And it's still, this is like a 20% move here. So these are kind of two different ones. But right here especially, you've got this point of resistance, and people are voting. As it runs up, people re-vote, and they say, we like it. And it screams into the stratosphere, more than I could have expected. And the danger there is buying options up here means that you could lose a lot of theta value if you spend, and this is December right here, if you spend all of the next 2 or 3 months just like in the darkness of despair because your options went down a bunch in value. And so like, and it probably won't be this long term, but it could be, judging by this sort of large scale consolidation phase of about a month and a half, 2 months, where the stock did move, but relative to how much it's been moving, it's actually a consolidation phase. And you can see all this time gap here might hurt you. So just a piece of advice would be, if you're looking to catch more upside, it's probably fine if you buy here. It could push out and just go absolutely ballistic. It's happened before. It's totally possible. And there's good fundamentals behind, but it could also drop, reconsolidate. And the reason I draw these squiggles, it's not arbitrarily. There's this small consolidation level here. So what I would suggest, just to try to give good advice, is, and it looks kind of messy at this point, but selling maybe even tomorrow or soon if it goes up more. Like let's say it goes like 105, 110, you can sell, and then it could go up more, but eventually it'll come back down to the nearest support. Usually that's what happens, and there's lots of speculative money in it, so it'll drop quick. And on no news, it won't happen on news. I mean, it could, but like, unless if news doesn't come out, it'll still happen. And you'll probably reconsolidate and shoot up again. So yeah, that's just a little piece of advice. That's just kind of a lot of info, but I thought it would be good just to sort of explain to you what I think's going on with the stock and how you might take advantage of this eventual downturn, and hopefully make more money and just play a much cleaner game with options. But yeah, just want to give the best advice I can. I might actually jump into the stock if it dips down, just to put my money where my mouth is. So best of luck, of course, and yeah, hope you have a ton of success.